Welcome to Reality After Show coverage of the challenge. All Stars 5 rivals. We're back today talking about the finale, parts 1 and 2. I'm your host, Dan Montchal, joined, as always, Alex Trias, Paulie Calafiore. And boys, I feel like we manifested a Handjob Steve win. And if you would have told the beginning of the season that him and Adam, they go in, they win the first daily to get the star. They tie the record for the most elimination wins with 5 in a season, and then go on and win the finale. I think we'd be coming in here doing, backflips and cartwheels. Instead, after this finale, we're stuck kind of just going,
It's
not a finale. This wasn't a finale. I'm sorry. It's just like this final was the most not final I have witnessed. Like, even the ones we've complained about, like 39, we complained about, All Stars 4 up to like the end of it. Like, I had my complaints about, but I was like, there was at least portions of it that still resembled what a final was supposed to be. For me, and maybe it's like a little falling flat here, is the fact that it was just essentially 8 or 9 plus whatever was not in the edit, start stops of you're doing this task, you're doing this task, you're doing this task, and then done. Instead of like crossing a finish line. TJ being right there, like yelling like obscenities at you that you're winning and giving you a fucking big ass check. Like there wasn't stuff. They had the portions of what they like to think a final is meant to be, but none of it felt like a final.
It felt like just a string of dailies being done in succession of one another and seeing who could win the most dailies of that string of succession, which, by the way, I think the first challenge that they tried that with, that they ended up getting absolutely ripped apart for, was the Final Reckoning final. Mm-hmm. And I remember all of the MTV people that have ever ran a final in their life, including people on that season like Bananas, and Veronica, absolutely, and even Cara. Cara was destroying that final also, saying the easiest final in challenge history. Anybody who ran this final, it doesn't count. And you want to know what? As I was running that final, I was sitting there being like, there's no way this is how hard a final should be. You know what I mean? Like, there were legs. We stopped in between the legs. We got rest. We got nutrition. We got all these things. It was whoever got the amount of legs. There were 6 legs of that final. I don't know how many of it was shown, but it was done in succession. And you would have downtime, and you would sleep, and you would do all these things. Fast forward to War of the Worlds 1. I didn't even participate in that final. But just looking at it, I was like, oh, it was ran continuously through. There was no stopping. Yeah. War of the Worlds 2, I can tell you without any shred of a doubt that it was ran through consistently. You know what I mean? And I don't understand, because the formula is there, right? I understand that it might be harder to like film if you pick a start point and an end point, and, how do the cameras go? How do the, you do it. But War of the Worlds 1 and 2 were essentially done in loops. So while these grueling loops were happening, the camera people were just in their positions, and they were able to just get it. And then we moved to a different loop. But it wasn't like, hey, here's some downtime. It was like, you're done with this loop of death. Now move to this loop of death.
Right. Do you think, because obviously the War of the Worlds finals were in not an easy location. But given what we know, because it's the same location, it's Vietnam, it's the same location as season 40. Actually, not even. They moved in season 40. Never mind. But still, do you think the environment of Vietnam itself sort of gave way to what we typically would see in our finals? Because even in 40, their endurance was the swimming. They never had them run really at all. They didn't have anyone run in this final at all. And obviously, being All Stars, are like, we're not going to make these old people swim. Even if they could, we're not going to make them do it. So it's just like, do you think the environment itself, like the humidity, the heatness, or the hotness of like that area was just like, we have to just make this a start-stop thing. We just have to make this task.
I don't think so, because they didn't care in Thailand, and it was just as hot and humid there for War of the Worlds too. You know what I mean? Namibia was a different kind of hot. It was like desert hot. You know what I mean? Like, I can speak to just competing in general. That season was brutal. Like when we had to do the junkyard challenge, when we had to do the tire stacking challenge, like it was hot, right? War of the Worlds 2 was more like jungle environment, like what Vietnam is, where it was humid, it was hot, you were dying, you couldn't breathe. It was brutal. So I don't understand why they did it here. Maybe once again, they're factoring in what they had, but there were numerous castmates that told me about this season, basically saying that they were told over and over and over again that whoever makes the final, it's really not going to matter, because the best team and the most qualified team may not win, because it's going to be a chancy final. And like when I hear the word chancy, when it comes to money being on the line, it's like, go do the prices right. Go do, minute to win it. Go do something that is chancy. Go do Squid Games. Go do Beast Games. Those are chancy games where it's like, really doesn't matter how you prepare for it. You know, if he says stand on this box and you're standing on the wrong box, you're eliminated immediately. That's chancy. That has never really been what the challenge is. Even when you look at shows like Survivor and Big Brother, there's maybe a few chancy things, and they get that out of the way during the competitions. And I'm all right with having a chancy daily to maybe throw things off if there's just like a dominant team that nobody's going to have a chance to get out unless there's a chancy daily that they can win, which is why you throw in the trivias, which is why you throw in eating, which is why you throw in random things. But this, to me, the only thing that was reminiscent of a challenge final was the location and the conditions. That was it.
Yeah. I mean, even if you wanted to almost dumb down the final and say, hey, day one, we're going to do the whole stars thing. And what the stars is going to do is going to determine what position you start in day two. I feel like that would be more acceptable. But we were talking about it before we came on, is like Alex and I shouldn't be able, Paulie, you're different. You've done some of those hard finals, but Alex and I shouldn't be able to look at the TV and go, you could drop either of us in there right now with no training whatsoever. And we might not win it, but I could do that. I could finish all those tasks. Nothing was that difficult. And that isn't what you expect when you watch a final, because no one was really pushed to their limit other than pushing through an injury that was here or there.
Yeah. And, thank God the final maybe wasn't like other finals, because, maybe Sam would have died.
I mean, I think they started it specifically in mind of Frank and Sam being in the final, that the irony is not lost that they started with a sand dune. Just like fully see, what if we could trigger them? What if we can trigger these two right here, right now, before the final even starts? Will Frank, like, I really think throughout the entirety of it, they're just thinking in mind right now, and I'm trolling everyone. I'm not being serious. It's just like, what if we can get Frank to crack? Frank, we've been wanting Frank to crack and have this explosive moment for TV all season long. We're going to make it happen this final. At some point in time, we know it's just start-stops. We're going to find stuff that's going to trigger them and get them to finally explode.
And, we kind of got it,
but
in a way.
I don't think it's what they wanted, though. I think they wanted it to be like, as Shane would like to call it earlier this season, the old Frank. The old Frank of, like, he's yelling because he's being malicious and, like, wanting to, like, really dig in the knife on you. He's, like, all of his yelling in the second episode is fully justified, and it's also coming from, it's no different than, like, when Jordan will yell during a competition and being like, I am frustrated because I know you can do this, but you're mentally not letting yourself be here. And because of that, we're going to lose. And I'm now pissed off.
The weirdest part of all of that was that for whatever reason, when Frank's all upset, Steve was the voice of reason, just adding more to his mystique of coming in, being like, calm down, buddy.
Dude, it's like, I thought we were about to get a fucking fight when they first panned to Shane yelling at Frank for no reason. But then Steve just being like, yo, man, we all see it. We all see it here. I found this rock, man. Hold on to this rock. Really hold it tight. It's really cool. I found it when I popped my hamstring. But like, you're good. You're good, man. And then he goes to Sam, be like, Sam, I know your knees hurt. It's okay. Here's the stick I found during the run. It's yours. It's yours. It'll all be okay.
Dude, Steve is a gem that should be cherished forever when it comes to Challenge All-Star seasons. It'd be interesting to see him on a flagship just because that is a little bit more chaotic. And I wonder if Steve would still be Steve.
It'd be curious to see, but we learned that he was a competitive eater like this past episode. Like he's just like the Dos Equis guy, like the most interesting man in the world.
I'm surprised. I was surprised we heard something he couldn't do when he was like, I've never paddled before. So, okay.
Out of all
Adam, it's all you.
Out of all the things that I would expect Steve to not do, paddling would have been the last.
Yeah. If you would have had a multiple choice question being like, which one of these has Steve never done? Like you would have never gotten me with that. You could have told me, he spent 3 months in the Amazon, just living off of the land. And I would have been like, yeah, that makes more sense than he's never paddled before.
Just living off of faith.
Truly. But yeah. But like pulling in onto like, because if we can look team by team. So like, let's start with Frank and Sam because we already are there. I will say the one thing I did like about this blow up is like Sam, unlike others who have competed in the final or have competed on challenges of past, does admit to being like she doesn't try to hide behind anything. She's like, you know what? You're right. Like I was like scared because I feel like maybe I'm too old for this. Yes, I do realize I'm overweight for this right now. Like I like that there was admittance. Like it wasn't her being delusional of like, no, I could have easily done this if it wasn't for me just twisting my knee right here. Like she's fully aware that she probably wasn't made up to do like a real final, but thought, hey, maybe this type of final we could have still had a chance. And technically, outside of like a thing or two here, if things went a different way slightly, they could have won, which is the weirdest thing.
It's kind of crazy that like nobody was really out, right? But that's what I go back to the final reckoning of it all is, that winner versus third place wasn't separated by much. Like Natalie and I got third place by a minute and a half out of first place. First place and second place was decided by like 30 seconds. You know what I mean? And, here we are in another final where it's essentially everybody's game with the exception of Nicole and Melissa. And that's just because they're dumb as bricks.
Yeah. Yes. The one last thing I would say about Frank is ignoring how they maneuver through the season. If you just plop them into the final, him with any of his other rivals, you put him in with Dustin on this final. Do they just win outright?
Easily.
Probably.
Like two people very much in shape. Dustin was like at least average at a lot of things. Like there wasn't a lot of things he was like bad at. He would just sort of get like unlucky at times. But like two very fit, tall like guys like going at this final, like I think they would have been neck and neck with Shane and Devon. And
with someone like Frank, you don't even need somebody who's a really great partner. You mainly just need like a nanny of sorts. Somebody that's just going to like shut up and follow what you do.
Yeah, like if he's running this final with like Amber, he's in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what's crazy about it with Frank is Man, I wish I had his self-confidence because I feel like Frank really believed that he was going to win that final, even partnered with Sam.
Look, I think it's no different. Like, we made the comparison earlier in the season. Frank and Jordan, I think, are two people cut from the same cloth when it comes to being a competitor. Like, two different walks of life, very different people. But, like, when it comes to playing a game, it does not matter if it's Monopoly. It does not matter if it's the challenge. Just like, I'm going into this because I think I can win, regardless of what you like put with me as an obstacle. I will find a way to overcome, and I will find a way to win because this is what I do. I win things.
Yes. I like that, and I feel like there should be more challengers that have that mindset. I mean, Jordan had that mindset with Anissa on Ride or Dies. Like, he genuinely thought he could win with Anissa. And it's nothing to do with what we may be seeing on the outside of like, this is impossible. It has everything to do with their own self-belief in themselves. And I feel like we need more challenge competitors that have that self-belief in themselves, because that's just the making of great moments.
Yeah. Like, we're not here saying all of you have to be Jordan and run a final with a broken leg and win. Like, we're not saying that. But just like having the mentality of like, you're going to get hurt during these finals. Like, everyone's going to get hurt. It's no different than an athlete during a season. As soon as you get past the first game, you're hurt. Like, something is bothering you throughout the entirety of the season. But the ability to mentally block it out and be like, this, if it was actually broken, if it was actually something that was too much for me to bear, I cannot move. If I am moving, that means I can get through this, and then you push forward.
The thing that we were most deprived with when it comes to Frank was, you were right, Alex. You pair him up with any of his other rivals, and they're one of the top teams there. But because he knew he was partnered with Sam, the only way they'd have any type of shot was the strategy that he had of taking out all the strong teams. So that's where it killed us. You deal him a different hand, and that isn't necessarily his strategy moving forward. So that's kind of what created, I don't know, the lack of competition in the game, which is unfortunate, because otherwise I feel like there could have been a different light looking at Frank, where finally he was someone who isn't playing for his next season. He was playing to win this season and didn't care if he comes back or anything else, which is what we wanted until we gave him this cast and we saw who kept going. And we're like, no, just that's what we want, but not like that.
Right. And the issue,
not like this.
Yeah, not like this. And the issue is, like you said, he's not fighting for another season because of people who say like, oh, this is like, I'm done after this. Like, he did. And what I liked was he didn't use the show as a prop for it to be like, this is my retirement season. I came for one more go at this.
Right.
I believe him when he's online saying like, with where my life is right now, I did this because I wanted to do it, but I'm good now. Like, I want to have a kid. I want to, like, I have my husband and I want to do all these things, and I have a good job that, like, for him, he was saying he makes more money doing the job than he does just constantly having to go back to the challenge. I believe him when he says, yeah, I'm good. He did it for like 10 years already. Who says he won't come again now? Speaking of retirements, we have now gotten, I think this might be like the 7th retirement address of Devon.
Devon's not retiring. Let's be.
I think she's confusing retirement with I'm taking a break.
Right. She is just taking a break. She's not actually retiring.
Yeah, like, oh, I'm actually retired to these guys. It's the boy who cried wolf of it all. You're just like, okay, Devon, we'll see you in a year.
So Leroy?
Yeah.
Leroy, Brett Favre, like, come on. They all come back to the Jets at some point.
They all come back to the Jets at some point. That is, I mean, Devon, listen, she's got a good setup with the Challenge official podcast.
Mm-hmm.
She's getting a consistent paycheck. She knows she's always in the, runnings to come back to the Challenge whenever she wants. As far as Devon goes, there's really only 2 shows that she hasn't checked off of her box yet where she would come out of retirement for them, and that's House of Villains and Traitors. So do I think this is the last time we're ever going to see Devon on a show? No. Do I think that this is the last time we're going to see Devon on a challenge? Also no.
But if it is, I'm just like sort of sad about how they chose to edit her this season, because like the confessional of her announcing her retirement was so out of place for how they were using her this season. The whole thing of her, like the first half of the season, she wasn't there. The second half of the season was her having issues with Shane, but it's like, you better not get in front of me and my money. Like, I want to get to the end. I want to win and get this money for me and my girl. And then out of nowhere, the ending is just, and like the religious aspect of it, I'm fine with. Like, I'm okay with whatever happens because I know I put my all in it. That part's the good part. But then just suddenly throwing the bomb of like, and this is my last challenge, and I can't believe that I was able to finish. I was like, whoa, pump the brakes. Why are we like just throwing this in at the 11th hour with no context?
Yeah, and you know, here's the thing. Like, in her mind, she may be thinking, this is the best I'm ever going to do on a challenge season. So I'd like to leave on a high note. But if I know anything about Devon, I know that she is going to 100% replay this final in her head. The fact that it was 1 second
Steve Menke
off of winning, right? It's going to be one of those things where it eats. She'll be training. She'll be feeling good. She'll be at a place of peace. Enough time has gone by, and she's going to be like, you know what? Let me try and run it back. Because if I go there and if I eliminate certain girls before the final, I'm smart enough and capable enough to win a final.
And this pair is like an interesting one because like right all up to getting to the final itself, we were saying throughout the season that like on paper, Shane and Devon should be a strong team and a threat in the final if they're there. But how they were acting with each other up to that point, you wouldn't have known that. There was bad communication amongst them. They were able to play the middle well, but when it came to actually performing in the challenges, they had bad communication. And I almost feel like her showing up Shane, while a bad move, because you don't know with the stealing money of it all, I think worked for her and Shane. Because it was like, Shane gets to be pissed off now instead of being pissed off at the beginning of the final, where now Shane, you know, being the guy that he is, he wants people to like him. He wants everyone to be able to say that they're his friend. So instead of being pissed off and be like, I want to make sure she doesn't win money, he gets to sleep through it, be like, I want to win the money. So you know what? My excuse is I want to prove to her how good of a partner I am, and by winning this final, and then I will be gracious enough to share the money with her. So then if she steals, then you'd be like, see, it was her all the time. It wasn't me.
Yeah, I think I'm over MTV people who think they're smarter than the editors. If that makes sense. You know, like you just got to be authentic. You know what I mean? Like, it was one of those things where once there's a money steal thing, people start thinking, how am I going to be perceived if I steal this money? Well, okay. Do you really care how you're perceived, right? Because like, are Johnny and Sarah friends after all this time? No. So stealing the money for somebody that you're likely not going to be friends with 10 years down the road, does that really matter? Are Hunter and Ashley friends after all this time?
Fuck no.
No, absolutely not. So I don't really care what anybody says online of like, oh, it's such a terrible thing. They're not friends 10 years down the road. So why do you care how you look like or how you're perceived to people watching the show if you steal the money from somebody that you're 100% not going to be friends with down the line? Like, I will 1000% say this with confidence. When I finally hang it up, when it comes to the challenge, I will be friends with nobody except for the people that I stayed in touch with for no reason, like having to do with the game. Like I stay in touch with Kaylee. Kaylee hasn't been back since War of the Worlds 2. Her and I are genuine friends. Cam and I stay in touch, regardless of, what happened with Cara and her on All Stars 4. Cam and I were friends before we were ever on the challenge together. We were friends from New Jersey. So we weren't friends from reality TV. You know what I mean? Joss and Rogan, I stay in touch with them every now and then just to check in. How are you guys doing? Right? And even with that, I can't guarantee that 10 years from now, when I'm 46 and they're whatever age they are, that we're going to be at points in our life where we're like, yeah, let's stay in touch. But I can almost guarantee you that there is nobody on the shows that I've been doing, that I would be like, yeah, sorry, dude, I'll choose this friendship and this relationship over this amount of money that's going to change my life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. With Shane and Devon, it's just so weird because if you look at their season as a whole, I don't understand it because the first 5-6 episodes, you didn't realize they were there. You have an episode or two where they're playing the middle, and then we don't like the way that Shane's talking to Devon, to then we came within a second of winning a final. What story is that?
Well, the story
because I don't know how to perceive any of it.
Well, the ultimate story for them is they got in their own way. And it also shows in the final. Even with them communicating very well, there are moments where Shane made impulsive decisions thinking he was smarter than the rest, and he was wrong. Like, you have
Melissa and Nicole.
Him going after Melissa and Nicole because of bad math, then 2, because he was being petty, instead of dumping it all onto Adam and Steve and make them miserable. Going after Frank and Sam because Frank, for good reason, being in last place, threw the ball at the team in first place. And then they're like, oh, Adam and Steve are almost done and they're our main competition right now. I'm going to throw it at Frank instead because I'm petty. And it's always and then Devon not being vocal enough in return to be like, no, don't throw it at the team in last place. Throw it at our competition. And so they had good communication, but not great communication.
Listen,
and that's ultimately what cost them the final.
Yeah, and being petty isn't what wins you money. Being smart in the moment is what wins you money. Like, if I would have Final Reckoning, everybody sits there and is like, oh, you gave Joss and Sylvia your word. It's like, yeah, I did, until it was that close within range where I felt like throwing a grenade at them was going to give me first place. But I was only making that move because I had the guarantee from Cara and Marie that they were also going to throw the grenade on Ashley and Hunter, right? So my move was justified to throw it on Joss and Sylvia, thinking that right afterwards, Cara and Marie were going to throw it on Hunter and Ashley. And when they couldn't come to an agreement on who they wanted to throw it on, because for whatever reason, Marie wanted to throw it on me before the final even starting, she was like, yo, fuck my friends. They treated me like shit all season. They turned on me because they wanted Cara out. I've got your back 100%. All right. Well, the second that didn't happen, because the moment to do it wasn't even at that final grenade toss. The moment to do it was at that eating portion when Hunter and Ashley won.
Right.
And they just didn't do it. And then they didn't do it again at the end. So I'm sitting there like, okay, here we go. But I was still going to stick to my guns and be like, you know what? Maybe I am in second place. Maybe this is going to get me first place. I had no idea that Ashley and Hunter were ahead of us.
Right. And
by the way, I love that we haven't been talking about it for a while, but there's a full-blown argument in our chat between Melissa and Nicole.
They both suck. I wouldn't want to be partnered with either of them.
Are they both? Is it actually Melissa and Nicole, or is it a Melissa?
No, it's people arguing who would you rather run a final with, Nicole or Melissa? If you had to choose one of them,
who would you guys rather run a final with? Nicole.
I think I would understand Melissa more than Nicole, fully just based off that, and I think Melissa would actually somewhat listen.
I'd rather run a final with Melissa.
The issue is Melissa has ran a final pregnant and was actually doing decently until she had to leave because of it. Nicole has been last, medically DQ'd, purged last in a final.
Yeah. And I think the whole, like if I was dumb, I think I would just know it. And like if I had a partner that was like smarter than me, I'd be like, I'm just going to be a workhorse. Tell me what to do. You solve everything. I'm not even going to give my 2 cents.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Nicole doesn't have that filter that like shuts that off before it comes out of her mouth. I would pick Melissa over Nicole for that reason and that reason alone. I do think Nicole physically is better.
Yeah.
But I feel like Melissa would stay calmer under pressure rather than arguing, because Nicole has shown that she does get a little flustered, and at the end of the day, like, if you're running final, like who do I'd rather look at Melissa. Sorry about it.
If we're being honest, that definitely weighed into my decision, but yeah.
And honestly, speaking of which, how dare
they watch in slow-mo or not?
Well, let's really talk about the intelligence level here. They thought they could Nicole thought she could get away with cheating on her partner because she made a fort on a bunk bed.
Brilliant.
It was like, there's no way there would ever be a camera placed in the bedroom.
And she's doubling down on it.
Well, because production was like, let me throw a giant star, even with the giant star, you can see Melissa take off her pants and put them back on.
After some time went by. But here's the thing. Normally there's not cameras in the beds.
Yeah, right.
Okay? But I guarantee you that Nicole was not smart enough to not speak on a hot mic while Melissa also had a hot mic and be like, yo, so the way we'll get away with this is if we put the bunk beds and the curtains up. Producers probably heard that because when they feel like somebody's going to cheat, they're listening to every interaction that's going on with them. And, when that happened, the second that they saw them making the fort, probably when they were out, they probably were like, all right, hey, we're going to slip a little GoPro in this corner.
Yeah, we're going to throw the GoPro in here and it will tell the truth, but we'll hide the truth as well. We'll make it vague enough. But like when you have every single other person in confessional being like, I don't know, like, when you have Steve in there and you're asking Steve about, are these two girls fucking in the room? The two girls are fucking in the room.
Good old Steve. This is how good production is, okay? I know from experience, because on Final Reckoning with Cara and I, there was a lot of flirting that was going on in the house, okay?
Mm-hmm.
A lot going on in the house. Probably shouldn't have been doing it. That's my fault. I take accountability and ownership of what was happening. Where things actually happened, we're actually nowhere in a house. We were in a place, which is probably why this isn't allowed to happen anymore, but we were in a hotel before the final started. That's where everything went down. People heard it, and then they were talking about it. So producers were like, oh, you heard it? This actually happened? Great, talk about it. And they just talked about it, and then they were able to take clips from in the house and make it be like, yeah, no, I heard this, and I heard all this. It's like, that didn't happen in the house. Like, that happened off camera. Like, so if I thought I was safe in that moment and they still were able to make it happen, you think that just a bunk bed fort is going to, like, if anything, they're going to turn up the volume on the microphones and just be like, can we hear anything?
Yeah. To be fair, and like, I mean, if you were Nicole's, I guess now ex, but girlfriend at the time, as soon as Melissa's there when they start the call and you see her, you're just like,
oh,
fuck.
I also that wouldn't calm me as a partner.
No.
Like, that wouldn't calm me at all. Like, imagine doing a call and it's like, yo, Melissa, you want to be a fucking good idea in order to like make people think that like we're fucking not doing anything, dude. Like, fucking be on this call with me with my girlfriend. And then it's like, as soon as that call would be done, if I was Nicole's girlfriend, I'd be like, well, that was fucking weird. If nothing was going on, why would she even be in that call?
I'll be so real. It's on Nicole right now. Like Nicole, go in single. Go in single, even if it's just like, hey, look, I'm a serial cheater. So just know if you want to be with me, we can be on a break. But as soon as I see anyone that is blonde or Cara Maria, I am gonna go after them. So
right,
that should be on her checklist when she's asking for a partner. Is do you or have you ever watched the challenge? No? All right, this can move forward. If it's yes, this is never going to work out. Because if we start dating, I'm going to need you to stick to that. Honey, I don't care that I'm on the show. I don't want you to watch it just because you never have.
Just do what the British people do. Like the British people tell their girlfriends at home, like, hey, sorry, I have to do this for good TV in order to have a job.
Yeah.
Like at this point, that's what she should lead with. Be like, hey, listen, like we're dating. Just, like when I go away, I'm going to have to hook up with people. It's kind of my thing. Gotta do this. Like that's what all the British people do. And like, they're still all in happy relationships.
Yeah, exactly. Now Nicole is someone who we need to be on the traders, but like, I want to see a world where she's forced to say that she's faithful.
That would be hilarious.
The opposite of the Tom effect from this past season.
Exactly.
Dude, could you imagine Nicole sitting at like a round table in Traders trying to put her argument out there as to why somebody is a trader or why she's not a trader?
See, I can't even get past that part. I'm thinking of everyone goes to breakfast in like suits and dresses, and she's going to be in a tracksuit, the sports bra, and some gym shorts coming in. Alan Cummings going to be like, you're supposed to like dress up. Yeah. This is the luxury brand.
This is, I'm Calvin Klein here. Dude, her at a round table would be hilarious because she would probably give her usual challenge shtick thing, and people would just be like, "You're an idiot." Like we're voting you out, so we don't ever have to hear that again.
Or it would simply be like, Nicole, had you sat there and shut up, no one was voting for you. But 30 seconds into your speech, we're just like, all right, she's out.
She's not even on the radar at all. And she's like, all right, I'd just like to throw my 2 cents in there as to why I'm not a trader.
And then a housewife came up and dressed her down for like 30 seconds.
Everybody's sitting there being like, wait a second. We weren't even going to vote for you. Why would you even start this conversation that you're not a trader? That's weird.
That's weird. I'm voting for you now. But yeah, I think we said everything we could about Nicole and Melissa. That was, you know what? Thank you, chat, for debating about those two. That's our conversation about those two in the final.
Yeah. And just for clarification, I think the debate was they were arguing over who Bananas, CT, and Jordan would pick between the two. And
I still think the answer is the same.
I still think Melissa. I mean, Bananas had sex with Melissa. He's 100% going with that because he would want to be stuck after the final with her over Nicole, where he knows he's not getting laid. I don't think Jordan would do well with Nicole's accent.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, Melissa has more of that. She'll just keep going and listen to Jordan, which is what Jordan wants.
Yeah, and I think CT and Nicole. I think CT might pick Nicole just because for humor purposes of both of their accents meshing at the same time.
You know what? And you know what? See, the thing is, Bananas would need to pick the right person, and he would need to pick Melissa before Nicole because Nicole will not help him at all with puzzles or anything. CT and Jordan were always of the people that were like, I just need to have another body. If you are a body that can run, perfect. I'm going to get us the win.
Especially with how good CT is at puzzles. Like Nicole, just sit there and
when CT wins a final with Casey for the last leg of the final, where they have to memorize a whatever digit code, and he's like, Casey, I'm gonna remember all of this. All I need you to do is actually get to the finish line. Yep. Can you do that for me? But
Rain Man shit.
Back to the Devon and Shane of it all, though. They performed well. I think for both of them being their first finals, I think they both had, especially Shane, felt like a lot to prove, to be like, okay, this isn't the typical final, but we need to show out in every single part to the best of our abilities to show that we could compete in a final. Shane more than Devon, I feel. They did well. I'm pissed at Devon, though, for my one thing. Anyone who answers themselves in a trivia question that's meant to cause controversy by forcing you to pick other people, you should automatically have all the shit thrown into your fucking food. If you get a question right, you should not be allowed to just put it in your own thing because, it's the easier thing to do. No, that's the fucking point of the challenge, is to do hard shit.
Yes, 100%.
See, I think Steve just wanted to show off.
Well, no, Steve wanted to show off, but they were both being like, oh, well, maybe if we put it in ours, no one else will do it to ours, because that's the old school mentality of it all. But no, everyone put your shit in Shane Devon or in Handjob Steve's, and let Handjob Steve just go up with that straw.
Yeah. 100%.
No, it luckily wasn't as frustrating as the trivia where everyone kept answering themselves, but I agree. That's put in there to stir up some shit. And if you're actively being like, oh no, don't look at me, I don't want to ruffle any feathers, especially at this point where you're at the final, what are we doing here?
Also, do not blame Melissa at all for not wanting to drink Nicole's vomit. There is a literal vomit bucket for you guys where you don't even need to swallow then vomit. You could just have it in your mouth and then puke it out. There's no reason for you to be puking in the food at all.
I agree.
Look, we ain't birds. We ain't mama bird in this shit. I ain't drinking your vomit. You vomit in the food, you finish the food.
Listen, that's that's a tough one. There's not many people's vomit I would drink.
Now that's a question.
That's solid zero.
That's gonna be in the next trivia. It'll be like, who did your partner say they would drink their vomit?
Yeah. Dude, there's not many people who could convince me to drink their vomit, dude. I'm like one of those, if I even hear gag reflex,
I'm gagging.
I could puke.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't even need to see it.
I've done pretty well in eating things, but that's just understanding that I will be throwing up already, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah. I would love to be able to pound my chest to be one of those people on the podcast who have never done shit, to be like, oh, I could have been like Steve. I could just drank all the shit. No. I'm a picky eater, man. I am puking this shit up. But the one thing I will say is I would actually attempt to swallow it and then really puke. I'm not about that bullshit of let me just put it in my mouth and put it all in there.
Yeah, I will still say to this day that the reason why War of the Worlds won was one of my favorite seasons because there was no eating. No,
I don't need it.
That entire season. You know what I mean? I understand that maybe the fans want to see it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to do it.
I don't mind them eating shit. I don't need the puke montage. I don't need a camera in the bucket to show them going into it the vomit. Nah, that I ain't about that life.
I'm fine with how it used to be that not every final, but occasionally in a final would show up as a checkpoint. I'm okay with that. It's not guaranteed every season. One season you may have it, but then maybe it's not around for 2 seasons. I'm fine with that. I don't think it needs to be something that's a staple like trivia every season.
Right. And ultimately, for all of you out there who do like the eating and who like the eating, who like the vomit montage, you know what? That's fine. I don't kink shame here. But
frozen for a second. Yeah, we're not kink shaming.
No, we ain't kink shaming here. But personally, I don't need it. But all that now leads to our heroes, our men of the hour. We had him on the last podcast. Dad Adam Larson. Talk about a way, it's such a cheesy dad way to do it, but also sort of iconic to be I'm winning this money. All of it's going into or at least a good portion of it's going into a ring. Hey, I'm going to watch this with you. Look for where I am right now because I'm on one knee.
It's an expensive fucking ring.
I mean,
honestly, with
yeah.
Avery, it's worth it.
True.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I had a feeling when we had him on and how he was talking about things like last week or 2 weeks ago now that I was like, he's happy right now. I'm like, I know he's a happy guy to begin with, but I'm like,
I was just with them in Nashville. She didn't even have a ring on, so like they freaking they held it very, very close to the chest. Very well done by Adam and Avery.
But great season. Like, was it perfect? No, but like when they needed to win, they won. I think both of them showed that they could get past goofy shit and just be like, do you want to win 125K each? Yeah, cool. Let's lock in. And they're able to just go in and lock in.
I think for them, the only person that's ever played a more perfect season was Jordan on season 40, because could this season have played out any better for Adam and Steve?
No.
They could have never went to elimination, but like
no, that's what I'm saying. But if they never went into an elimination, sure. But like going in, tying the record in a shortened season.
Oh yeah.
Winning dailies when they needed to, and then just winning the final. They didn't dominate the final, but they won.
Yeah, like
you look at it like when Wes and Casey won their 5 eliminations in a season. They didn't end up winning. Horacio didn't end up winning. The only one you could say was Sarah Grayson won 5. But I mean, that was all the way back in the gauntlet. Yeah, that's true. Adam,
they both were there for it, but Steve didn't win that season.
Yeah,
but Adam, like we said on the podcast, like Adam had that full turnaround and won. After Sarah Grayson having to go through 5 eliminations, he went through 5 eliminations and got his second win. Steve also now has the 5 eliminations, has the tied record with Wes for the longest active male elimination win streak, gets his win, gets his lick back from All Stars 4, and gets to be a challenge champion. And I don't feel like I sort of want to, they both share the money. We all knew they were both going to share the money.
I really wanted Steve to say sit and spin, bitch, but we couldn't get that.
We really wanted Steve to be like, I want one more competition. I want one more. And I hope it's eating. But
I appreciated Adam and Steve all season. What they brought to the show, I thought they were very entertaining. We were in Steve's corner since day one. So to have the season end like this, I think that we put our faith in the right person, like the thing that they say on TikTok now when, somebody blows up and they're good people, they're like, we made the right person famous. Steve winning this, that's how I feel. It's like we made the right person, I don't know, famous, but like we definitely picked the right horse.
Mm-hmm. Especially as he was talking throughout the season, being like, I'm haunted by what happened to me in All Stars 4. Like, all I care about is the win.
Yeah. And like, if we ever did, like, let's say All Stars 5 is the last All Stars, because currently they're not greenlit for All Stars 6. We know that much based off how Mark has been tweeting lately. But Steve now with the win cements himself for me into All Stars Mount Rushmore. Like you have for what they mean for All Stars, like the 3 right off the bat for me would be him, John A, and Nehemiah for what they did from a performance and a character arc throughout All Stars. I don't know who the 4th one is, but Steve cemented himself in there.
I love how now there's an All Stars Mount Rushmore and a Challenge Mount Rushmore, because it's only right that there is.
Exactly.
So I would say that Steve's up there. Adam's got to be up there. Johnny's definitely there for the women. Hopefully there are more All-Star seasons so we could have a more, solidified Mount Rushmore where we could debate about it more than just being straightforward to the point.
Right. Like, it's like, yes, Wes dominated in All-Stars 3, got his win, but I was like, he never should have been there to begin with. So then I'm like,
flagship guy. He's still flagship coded.
Right. So then I'm like, maybe yes. Maybe put yes in there as the OG All-Stars winner in a final that was actually a final.
Darrell has 2 second-place finishes. Like, he can still compete on the All-Stars level where, sorry, Darrell, you just can't on the flagship anymore.
It's tough. But I will say, I'm excited to watch him fight Fessy in November. So,
Oh, yeah. I forgot that was happening.
So that's happening.
Oh, man. I might actually want to watch that. I might actually want to watch that. Like, we know what Darrell can do with those hands.
I definitely know what Darrell can do with those hands. But I think it's got the makings of a really good fight because, Fessy can scrap, and his sheer size and power, Darrell is going to have to pull out the boxing skills. And it'd be very nice to see if he could wear him down and piece him up.
Yeah, I just hope it doesn't end up being like a Mayweather McGregor thing where Fessy comes in hot and ready to go, and Darrell's just like, I'm just gonna pivot, man. I'm just going to pivot you for a good 3 rounds.
I don't know. I'm working on some streaming capabilities for that one for everybody who can't make it out to Montana. So that should be fun.
Ooh, yeah. But
yes, absolutely.
I think this is a good time for you to plug your shit, Paulie, because we're at the end of the podcast. We're at the end of the season. We're going to take a break from the pod for a little bit while we wait for more speculation of when 41 season will start. Your words, my words too. But but yeah, Paulie, plug your shit. What you been up to?
Dude, just been chilling, just been doing photo shoots with pretty ladies. And, you might see your boy on some other networks, while he waits for other seasons to be coming up. So we shall see. And then, stay tuned for the boxing fights. We got one in July, but the one in November, that's going to be the challenge coded one. There's a couple other challengers that reached out to me that want to be on the card as well. I have not announced them yet, but Fessy and Darrell are going to be the main card.
Oh, lovely.
Beautiful.
And Dan, tell us what's happening on the podcast.
Yeah, gonna get a break from us. I'm sure we'll pop back on at some point in the off season, discuss all things challenge related. But we just did 40 and then All-Stars 5 back to back. We deserve a little bit of a break, but there's plenty of other stuff that's going on in the Reality After Show Network. We're in the middle of all U.S. Survivor 48 coverage. You can check out the wrap-up coverage and everything going on Australian Survivor. Plus, Johnny's covering 2-3 different shows that are on Netflix and everywhere else. So make sure any type of reality show that you're interested in, I'm sure we're covering it somewhere. Make sure you hit the bell, like and subscribe. That way you get notified every time we or anyone else on the network goes live. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts at, please take a few seconds, rate and review us 5 stars. It helps us out tremendously. And as always, the best way to support the podcast is become a patron at realitypatron.com. Sign up for a month. If you don't like it, Johnny will give us, sorry, can't speak today. We'll give you your money back. That's going to do it for us. I don't know when we'll be back, but we will be back at some point talking challenge and season 41.